Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Alignment Academy. It's your host, Kristen, and if you don't know me, I am a mindset coach, a business mentor, an angelic channel, and I am here to help you overcome the fear of being seen, step into your soul's purpose, and really go all in on this life that I know you fucking want and you deserve, and a life that you can kind of look back on and be really, really proud of. I have been on this spiritual journey for 12 years now. I actually counted the years like this week and I was like, oh wow, it's been 12 years. I had my spiritual awakening when I was 16. I'm 28 now. That's a long time. And simultaneously, I feel like this year out of all the years was the deepest and most profound and most transformative soul growth that I've had yet. And I don't say that lightly. Like, honestly, this year sucked. This year absolutely sucked for me. It was the hardest year of my life, but I know that this was actually a really hard year for a lot of people. So I thought we would do an episode where I share my biggest soul lessons and help you feel less alone. Because if I've learned anything about rock bottoms, it's that they really are here to shake you up so that you become the person that you're meant to be. And this episode kind of came about because I was chatting with one of my friends on the phone the other night. And I was like, I actually was crying because I was like, my soul is so tired. Like, I just want to get some of the rewards from like all the growth that I've had. I was just like crying. I was like, my soul is so tired. I need it to be easy for a little bit. And he was like, even though this year has been really hard, your soul had an amazing year of growth. And I kind of got really mad at him when he said that because it kind of triggered me. I'm like, I don't care about my soul growth. I just want my human to have a good fucking time here. But the truth is that we can't control that. And a bad year to the human is a good year for the soul. If you've had a similar year, then you're really going to be able to relate to that. And I think that at this point, the only thing that we can do is keep moving. We have to keep moving. We have to learn the lessons as quickly as we can. We have to integrate and know that it's temporary. So with that being said, I am really excited to go over all of these soul lessons. I'm also really excited for 2024, to be honest, because like I said, 2023 was a little slap in the face for me. It was a wake-up call. I had to deal with a lot of hard things, and I don't really know of a better way to kind of call and ring in the new year than just like reflecting on the past year and learning all the lessons that we need to learn. I'm in like a really busy season of my life, honestly, but it's kind of perfect timing because like when's a better time to be busy when you're like single? Never. You want to be busy when you're single, and I'm just like putting all of my energy into my soul's purpose and building my life here in San Diego, and yeah, just trying to like be the best version of myself and be somebody that I guess like I would want to be with, if that makes sense. Not that I'm like really looking right now, but just kind of like preparing for this next phase of my life and staying busy, because obviously you guys know that I am a full-time coach. I've been doing this for 4 years, but on top of that, in these last couple months, I decided to really take the podcast seriously, which is where we are right now. And then on top of that, build a retreat business. It's just a lot of work when you're in a full-time job and then you're building 2 other businesses. And I know this is how my clients feel. So it's kind of cool. Like I can relate to them of like how much dedication and work it takes, but I'm also so fulfilled with all the work that I'm doing that I don't want to be doing anything else. Like there's nowhere I would rather be than right here. So I'm super grateful for this time period. I'm just trying to soak it in. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at in my life right now. But let's go on to the lessons. The first big lesson that I learned this year is all you have is you. And this lesson stemmed from my breakup. Well, honestly, all my lessons stemmed from my breakup. So let's just get that out of the way. Everyone knows at this point, or maybe you don't because you're new, I went through a terrible breakup in February and it really, really rocked my world. But I'm also like not claiming that story anymore. I'm here to like I'm just kind of like on the tail end of it. You know what I mean? So I don't want to like talk about it a lot anymore. However, it was a big part of my transformation, my change. So it's kind of hard not to talk about it sometimes. My point is, in the beginning of this year, when I was going through the breakup, honestly, I was really scared of being alone. Like I had to move home for a couple months and I wasn't ready to come back to California and rebuild my life and live alone again. Even when I came back to California, I ended up living with a friend for a couple months because I hadn't lived alone in so long. And I would have never pinned myself like as a codependent person, but I think that like I was just in a relationship during COVID and we did everything together. We moved to California together. So by default, I became a little bit codependent and lost myself a little bit. And I don't blame myself. However, I think that it was just a big wake-up call how uncomfortable I was being alone after that breakup. And so this year, I have really learned to be happy alone. And I'm so proud of myself for saying that. Like, I live alone now and I spend the majority of my time alone. And I actually have grown so much in this space because when I first moved into this spot in my 1-bedroom apartment, I would fill almost like every hour with like trying to do something because I just didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. And I never thought I would be someone who said that because before, I lived alone before I was in my last relationship. So it's not like I've never been independent. It's just that I was in a relationship for 4 years. So you lose that independence a little bit. And so when I came here, I was just like so uncomfortable being alone. I had a lot of trouble like on weekends, and I'm just really happy to say that I've really learned to embrace this time period alone and enjoy my own company and fill it with things and people that I love. And it doesn't scare me anymore. So I really learned that, Kristen, if you can't be with yourself, that's a scary thing. Like, I know a lot of people live like that, and I was one of those people, but it's just so important to get to know yourself and love the company that you're in. And yeah, that was one of the biggest lessons that I learned, is like just learning to love myself and remembering that like I came into this world alone. I'm going to leave this world alone, and I have to make this home inside of me beautiful. And that kind of brings me to my second lesson, because if you've been following me on TikTok or you listened to my Daddy Joe episode, I did a lot of inner work this year. This was definitely a big year of inner work, as is every year for me, but definitely this year was just a big one. And I had to make my brain a beautiful place to live, because after the breakup, my brain was such a terrible place. I had so much anxiety. I couldn't control my thoughts. I had so much trouble sleeping. There was just a lot of really hard things that I went through. I just knew that one of the biggest lessons that I needed to learn was learning how to control my brain and control my thoughts, especially because I teach it a lot now, and you have to master something that you teach. And I do have to kind of give a lot of credit to Dr. Joe Dispenza, Daddy Joe, my spiritual dad. We love him. He really helped me kind of take control of my reality. And like one of the biggest things that I learned from him is that like nothing changes if you don't change, right? Like change is a product of thinking, doing, and being different than you were the day before. And so I had to literally wake up every single day, put on my Daddy Joe meditation, and act as a different person, the person that I want to be, and the person I'm proud to say like I am right now. So really, my second big lesson of this year was just like making my brain a beautiful place to be and learning how to control it and not let it control me. My third big lesson, I'm really, really excited about this one, because this was maybe my favorite soul lesson that I learned this year, if I could have a favorite one. And it is that healing is not everything. So I realized about halfway through this year that I was unhealthily obsessed with healing. I have been on my spiritual journey, like I said to you guys, since I was 16 years old. That is 12 years. And I created this really terrible belief within myself that the more I heal, the more worthy I am, because I've healed more, which logically it kind of makes sense, right? Like the more you heal, the more worthy you feel. However, it doesn't make you more worthy. Like your worthiness doesn't go up and down. It just is high, and you have to remember it's there. So I would say after I did the bulk of my healing in the first part of this year, a lot of this year has been dedicated to learning how to be less rigid and have a lot more fun. So if you guys are astrology girlies, I am a Virgo moon, meaning Virgos can be pretty rigid. Like who I am at my core is very organized, very task oriented, very just wants my ducks in a row and wants things done a certain way. That has made me really rigid in my life. It has also given me a lot of gifts. Like I built a business off of my Virgo moon, but it also has made me really rigid. And this year, the things that have helped me like release some of that rigidity is not only the people I was around that kind of showed me that like having fun is a spiritual experience, but also mushrooms. I know I always talk about mushrooms, but like from my 2 big mushroom trips, one of the biggest things that I've learned is the mushrooms showed me like, girl, this is a game. There's no other point but to experience. That's the only point, is to experience all that you can experience, and stop taking it so seriously. Like you think that this is all so serious, but like it's just a game. Enjoy it, have fun. And so I had a lot of like very big habit breakers that had happened this year. I think some of them were from the breakup of just like being in a really like weird place of everything shifting and me having to create all new habits. But I think that looking back, they all were for the better. So some of the things that kind of changed from last year to this year is I used to work out 7 days a week. No excuses. Like I would work out so much to the point where I was always injured. Like I would always have a back injury. And this year I work out like 4-5 days a week and like not very hard. And usually 1 or 2 of those days is yoga. And I just feel like a lot better in my body. And I feel like I'm a lot more balanced. Yeah, I just feel better. So that was the first way I kind of like cut down on the rigidity. The second way is I used to be a vegan for 4 years. And this year I just like started eating meat. This was actually during the breakup as well. I was home in Florida and I honestly wasn't eating, if I'm being completely honest. Like I lost a lot of weight during that time and I wasn't eating so much that when I did eat, I knew that I kind of needed to eat some protein because I wasn't eating anything else. And so my mom was cooking like a lot of dishes with some meat in it, and then I just ended up like eating them by default, and I just like didn't care, because when you're that depressed and that in that emotional state, you just don't care about literally anything. So I just started eating meat, and then I just never stopped. And honestly, it's been really good for me. Like I eat mostly plant-based at home, but I eat a burger. I eat kind of just intuitively now. And I think that's been really good for me. It's just been a nice change of pace after 4 years of being so strictly vegan and having such a crazy like diet all the time and like not being able to eat anything at restaurants. It's just like, it's just nice. So that was another way that I feel like I've had more fun. I also never ever drank for like almost the whole 4 years of my relationship. Well, probably like 2 years of my ex relationship. I just didn't want to drink. And I think that that was actually fine for the time period of my life. I was really focused on like building this business up. However, I think that I was just being rigid if I'm looking back. Like, yes, I don't feel great when I drink, but like, I think that there's a time and a place for me now. And wherever you're at with your alcohol journey, like, you do you. What I've really realized from all these like ups and downs with all of these different areas of my life is that there's just seasons of life. Like nobody is in a right or wrong phase. You know, you might judge someone who's vegan or who doesn't work out as much or who, you know, does drink alcohol or doesn't, but like I've been in every phase at this point, and everyone's just doing the best they can and just doing what's best for them. And so, yeah, I drink a little bit now, not a lot, probably like once a month, if that. But sometimes it's nice to let loose with your girls. You know what I mean? I think that alcohol is a tool at the end of the day. Like it enhances all of your shadows, right? So if you're going to drink, just use it as a tool. Like if you're a really big bitch when you drink alcohol, look into that. If you are like begging for male attention when you're drinking alcohol, look into that. Like alcohol just enhances your shadow. And if you've done a lot of shadow work, it's actually a great time. Like I feel like I'm just more of who I am when I drink alcohol. Not in like I'm more of my personality. I just think that like, I'm like, ooh, let's have a good time. And that's it. So, But honestly, like now, sometimes I'll just take a little microdose when I go out and I feel fine and open, and then you feel great the next day. So whatever, take what you need. That's just been my journey. The third tip I just want to share is healing isn't everything. Have fun, guys. It's not all about healing. It's about enjoying your life and healing along the way. Yes, but like enjoy your fucking life. If you're addicted to healing like I was, enjoy your life, because I know someone needs to hear that. My fourth life lesson that I learned is that the root of all suffering is attachment. Boy, did I learn a freaking soul lesson in letting go this year. I had to let go of so much. I had to grieve so much of my old life. Honestly, I think that letting go is one of the hardest human lessons, hands down. I will stand behind that. It's really one of the hardest human lessons because we just, as humans, we like things to stay the same, honestly. But the truth is that everything is temporary. Like literally every single relationship in your life is temporary. And this is a pretty dark thought that I had the other day, but I think it's also a very true thought that you need to know and come to terms with. Every single relationship in your life is either going to end through a breakup or death, right? So we get into a relationship and I feel like we have unwritten contracts with people that this is how it's supposed to be forever and this should last forever because it's so good now, and we just attach to these relationships. And then when they're gone, right? A friendship breakup, a real breakup, a death, we're suffering so much. We're so angry. But this is an ever-changing and moving universe. Like nothing is ever going to stay the same. If you're suffering, it's temporary. If you're really happy, it's temporary. And I think that the more that we can just release our control and our need for things to stay the same all the time, the happier we're going to be. And I think that that's really what unconditional love is, and mastering the human game is like mastering the human experience for me really means being in acceptance for any of the conditions that I'm living in. I had to learn how to be happy amidst the shittiest conditions this year. Like I lost a best friend. I lost friend groups this year. I went through a breakup. I was moving. I was starting my life over. I went through a lot of things this year, and it really taught me how to master my own joy. I no longer was able to make my happiness conditional on those things getting better because those things were never getting better in the foreseeable future for me. So there was like a moment where I was like coming to terms with it, and I was just like, I literally have to decide to be happy now. And I was listening to this Abraham Hicks video one morning, I remember, when I was like in the thick of it. And she said something that has stuck with me so deeply. And it was just like, you can either be happy without them or you can be unhappy without them. It's your decision. And I know that's like such a simple statement, but I was like, oh my gosh, I literally have to decide to be happy without him. Like I have to, for my own well-being, because if I can only be happy if he comes back or whatever, I'm never going to be happy. And that's not a life that I wanted for myself. And so when I stopped making my happiness conditional on the circumstances in my life, I became really fucking powerful. That is such a powerful vibration to be living in, that you are just happy despite any conditions in your life. And that's true personal power at the end of the day. So my fourth tip is that the root of all suffering is attachment, and that we have to learn to let go and accept that everything in life changes, and it's going to keep changing as long as we're alive. My fifth lesson is just to fully embrace the season of your life you're in. You know, there was a lot of moments in this season of my life where I wanted the season to be over. And I had this moment the other night. I was on the phone with Bree, and if you guys don't know, that for 3 months of this year, me and Bree lived in the same town. Bree is my best friend, if you don't know, and we lived in the same town for 3 years, and we just created this like really cute little weekly routine in life where we would just hang out every single day. We would go to our trainer every morning. We would go get coffee and sit there till 10 a.m. And during this 3-month period of my life when I was living in Orange County with Bree, I was going through the thick of my breakup and I was so miserable, but we had so much fun during this period. We really made the best of it and did as best we could because she was going through a lot too. And now looking back at this period, I'm just like, I don't even remember the pain. I only remember the good parts. I only remember the happiness and the funny hikes we went on, and when we would skip work and just hang out for the day, and all the moments in between the pain is what I remember. I don't really remember the pain, you know? I'm so happy that I just fully embraced that season. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that that season ended, and I was so eager for that season to end during it. But now looking back, I'm like, I wish I could just do another week in that season because it was so fun. And even in this season, you know, I think it's really normal. Like I look at my TikTok feed and it's like all about single girls just trying to get back in relationships. And I'm just trying to really embrace this season because I know I'm not going to be single forever. I know that probably maybe hopefully the next relationship I'm going to be in might be the last relationship for a long time that I'm in, right? And so I just want to really embrace the season of being alone and also embrace all of the seasons I'm in. I said I'm in the beginning of this podcast, I'm in a really busy season of work and I'm going to want this back one day. And so I guess what I'm trying to tell you is that if you're in a kind of shitty season right now, make the best of it because it's going to be over. It's temporary. Like, I feel like the entire theme of this podcast is like, it's temporary, guys. Like, don't worry about it. It's all going to work out. It's temporary, but it really, really, really is. It's temporary. And we just have to remember that when we look back at our life, it's going to be like a blink of an eye. Whatever season you're in, this is going to be a blink of an eye. You're not even going to remember listening to this podcast, right? It's just like everything really does move so quick, even though sometimes when we're in pain, time feels like it's moving really, really slow. So embrace the season, guys. It's temporary and you're probably going to miss it one day. And there was this poem that one of my guy friends shared with me. And it was like, when I'm 80 years old, I'm going to be wishing that I could go back and swim in the ocean again and go to the grocery store with my best friend and have a sleepover and climb the mountains and get my heart broken again and do everything one more time. And I just really thought that was a beautiful perspective shift of knowing that one day you will be 80 and your life will be over. And you would kill to be back in the same exact position, no matter how hard it is. You would want to be back here doing it because it's going to end and it's going to be over and you're going to want it back. So yeah, just soak it up. It's temporary. My sixth and final lesson from this year, this one just feels like me. It's obviously business related, but mission over everything. What I mean by this is, you know how in the first lesson I said, all you have is you? This one ties into that, but all you have is you and your soul's purpose. People are going to come and go, guys. Friends are going to come and go. Boyfriends and girlfriends are going to come and go. Husbands and wives are going to come and go. Family is going to come and go. But your soul's purpose is all you freaking have. Don't let other people's opinions stop you from living your soul's purpose. Don't let other people's judgments or fears stop you from working on your purpose because your purpose is yours and it's all you have. And at the end of the day, as a soul, not as a human, as a soul, you came here to complete a mission. You came here to learn soul lessons. And ultimately, this is what really matters, how much of an impact you make in what you're here to do. Whatever you're interested in, what I want to remind you is I'm not interested in what you're interested in. Have you ever thought about how interests are really actually God-given? What makes somebody interested in fishing and me interested in spirituality? I don't know. That's not logical. That's why we have to follow our soul's mission and our soul's purpose and trust that the guidance that we are given and the interest we have is being divinely sent to you. And this is what I remind my clients all the time. Maybe they have this urge to teach about relationships or teach about codependency. And I'm like, girl, I don't have that desire to teach about that. That's how you know it's your soul purpose, because you have that desire. You alone have that desire. And it wouldn't be placed in you if you weren't meant to share it. So whoever's here listening and second guessing if this is their purpose and if they can really do it, you would not have the desire to do it if it wasn't supposed to be done by you. And I promise that. I really, really mean that. I promise that. So trust it and really take your mission seriously. And it's so funny, like me and my friends will always say mission over everything, but like really it is mission over everything. Like if my heartbreak was for the mission, I'm here to do it. You know, I feel like I've helped a lot of people transmute a lot of pain through my own pain. And at the end of the day, if that's my calling, then so be it. Mission over everything, baby. I'll do anything for the mission. So I really think that it takes that level of devotion to make it as an entrepreneur. And if you're listening to this, you probably have a similar desire to do some big things in the world. You just need to be more devoted to your soul than you are devoted to listening to your fears, to listening to other people's judgments, to listening to other people's, perceptions of you, because all that is just noise. It's just noise, and we have to learn how to cancel it out and just care more about our own opinion of ourselves than other people's opinions of ourselves. My 6th tip is mission over everything. I think that that's a good place to end. I feel like I could probably give you guys like 10 or 20 lessons if I'm being honest, because I always love unpacking what my soul is learning. And it's like a hack to know what your soul's learning, because we always learn through opposites. So like, I know that this year I was learning acceptance through letting go of an ex relationship. I know I was learning self-love through not loving myself. Like, it's just kind of cool to look to see what your soul signed up to learn before we came here. So if you feel called to share what your soul is learning this year, you can send me a DM on Instagram. I love when you guys DM me on Instagram. Just like share what you got out of the podcast. I really, really love this community. It like feels like it's so close to my heart. And I really have just been loving doing the podcast. Oh, and the other thing that I wanted to share with you guys is it's so funny because I was thinking the other day, I never saw myself wanting to really take my podcast as seriously as I have. I always thought I would have one, but I never really expected how much I would love it. And then I was like thinking back in my childhood, and this is so funny because I used to think this was embarrassing, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, my biggest shadow is kind of like coming true right now. I used to do theater when I was little, and I was like so good at it, guys. And I was like the lead character in like a few theater musicals. Like in The Little Mermaid, I was Ursula. I was like the bad mermaid or whatever. And I was so good at it. And now and then I used to be embarrassed that I used to do theater when I was like growing up and in high school. Like I never told anyone. And now like it's so funny. Our soul always knows, because I feel like I was on a stage and now I'm like creating a stage for myself, sharing my voice with the world. And just like the soul always knows, we think it's random, and we think it's not all divine, but it is. It's all perfect. It's all divine. When you really look at all the hints that like led you to your soul's purpose, you're like, oh my gosh, like it's so obvious, but I always thought it wasn't obvious, right? All this to say, thank you for listening to the podcast. It would mean so much to me if you gave me a 5-star review or liked the video or subscribed to whatever platform you're listening to it on. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for, being a part of the Alignment Academy community. I'm excited. Next year, I'm going to build more of like a community platform for all of us to be a part of. So you can look out for that. But I feel like that's a good place to stop for today. And I'm just grateful for you. So I hope you guys have a good week. I will see you in the next episode, and I love you. Bye.